She got the guy. She got the wedding. She got the epilogue where everyone's happy 19 years later. So why did the woman who wrote her fall apart the moment someone asked if it was actually a good idea? Because here's the thing about Hermione Granger's love life. It looks finished. Ron Weasley, King's Cross Station, 2 kids, a scar on Harry's forehead that hasn't hurt in decades. Case closed. But peel back one layer and you find out the ending wasn't as settled as it looked, not even to the person who wrote it. And that's the story nobody tells you. Not the fictional one, the real one. Let's start where the fandom starts. 4th year, the Yule Ball. Because before there was Ron, there was Viktor Krum, an international Quidditch star, 18 years old, broody, a little awkward off the pitch. And somehow the one person at Hogwarts who looked past the bushy hair and the raised hand in class and saw Hermione. He asked her to the ball. She said yes. And when she walked down those stairs in periwinkle blue, hair smoothed out, teeth fixed by a well-timed hex gone right, half the school didn't recognize her, including Ron. But Ron did recognize her. That was the problem. He recognized her enough to spend the rest of the night stewing, picking fights, and eventually snapping at her for going with the enemy. Hermione's response has become one of the most quoted lines in the whole series. She told him the only reason he was upset was that he hadn't asked her first. And he hadn't. He'd asked her as a last resort, practically an afterthought, and only realized what he'd lost once someone else wanted it. Therefore, the pattern was set before either of them ever kissed. Ron wanted Hermione. He just didn't know it until someone else did. Krum, for his part, didn't disappear after the ball. He wrote to her that summer, owls arriving at the burrow addressed to Hermione, which Ron read over his shoulder every single time, jaw tightening a little more with each letter. It's a small detail, easy to miss, but it tells you everything about how this triangle worked. Ron wasn't jealous because he thought Krum was dangerous. He was jealous because Krum was proof that other people could see what he refused to say out loud. But nothing came of it. Krum faded into a subplot, a name that resurfaces years later at Bill and Fleur's wedding. Still fond of her, still polite, still very obviously never quite gotten over the girl who chose someone else. Therefore, the first real romantic thread in Hermione's story ends not with heartbreak, but with a shrug. A door that stayed open a crack and never fully closed, even after everyone moved on. Which brings us to 5th and 6th year, when things should have gotten easier. They didn't, because by the time Half-Blood Prince rolls around, Ron is dating someone else. Lavender Brown. Loud, affectionate, constantly draped over him in the common room, a relationship built almost entirely on public displays of affection that Hermione is forced to watch from 3 feet away. And this is where the show she's been putting on for 2 years finally cracks. She doesn't cry quietly. She conjures a flock of vicious yellow birds and sends them straight at Ron's face. It's played for laughs in the books. Canary attack, feathers everywhere, Harry trying not to smirk. But underneath the comedy is something a lot more uncomfortable. A 17-year-old girl who has spent years being the smartest person in every room, solving every crisis, saving her friends' lives more than once. And she still can't say the one sentence that would fix this. Therefore, Hermione's competence becomes almost a curse in this one specific...
That's the story lens worth sitting with for a second. Hermione Granger, across 7 books, is never once outsmarted by a puzzle, a spell, or a professor. She is repeatedly outmaneuvered by her own feelings for one boy. Now, fast forward to the war, Deathly Hallows. The 3 of them alone in a tent for months, hunting Horcruxes, running on fear and bad food and no real plan. And this is where Ron does the one thing that should have ended things for good. He leaves. walks out on Harry and Hermione in the middle of the woods, in the middle of a war, because a cursed locket amplified every insecurity he'd been carrying since he was 11 years old, and the second youngest in a house full of louder, more impressive brothers. But he comes back, destroys the locket himself, in one of the more symbolic scenes in the series, stabbing the piece of Voldemort's soul that had been whispering that Hermione preferred Harry all along. Therefore, Ron's return isn't just a plot correction. It's him killing the exact insecurity that had kept him from ever saying anything sooner. And then, months later, in the middle of the Battle of Hogwarts, with the castle collapsing and people they've known for years dying in the hallways around them, Ron finally does it. Not over candlelight, not after some romantic gesture. He kisses Hermione in the heat of battle, because she brings up house elves of all things, in the middle of a war. And something about her caring that much, even then, is what finally gets through to him. It's messy. It's badly timed. It's very, very them. 2 years later, the epilogue gives us the tidy version.
Read that again. The woman who spent a decade building this couple, who married them off in the final pages, stood in front of the actress who played her and admitted the coupling wasn't really about whether it worked. Therefore, the ending that looked finished for millions of readers turned out to be, in the author's own words, less settled than anyone assumed. Rowling went further, suggesting that in some ways, Harry and Hermione might have been the better fit, and that Ron and Hermione's relationship carried a kind of fundamental incompatibility that a young couple might not survive without serious work down the line. She even joked, half-joked, that they might need relationship counseling one day. Watson didn't push back. If anything, she agreed. She said there were fans who'd always sensed the same thing, who wondered whether Ron could really make Hermione happy over the long run. So here's where the story actually falls apart. Not in the books, not in some deleted scene or scrapped draft. It falls apart 7 years after publication, in a magazine interview, when the person who controls...
If you've been sitting with that question since 2014, and you're still not sure, you're not alone. Half the fandom still argues about it. And if you want to keep dissecting stories like this one, breaking down the choices behind the characters instead of just the plot, that's exactly what we do inside Avenzo. Our channel is for people who want to think more critically about the stories they love. Come find us there. This video is brought to you by Avenzo, because sometimes the most interesting plot twist in a series isn't in the series at all. It's in what the author admits once the book is already closed.